Spring is just around the corner and you need something that's light, fresh, and delicious, but that reflects your crabby personality. Well, hold on to your butts because I've got the thing that's just for you. Hey folks, welcome back to another episode here at Time Out Kitchen, where today I'll be diving into one of my favorite dishes, the crab cake. Now, there isn't a lot to say about these. Some delicious lump crab and as little filler as possible along with a crispy crust are really what make these so wonderful. Now, as always, stay tuned until the end to find out just how much time and money these sumptuous crispy cakes will take to put together. So with all that said, we will of course need some crab, specifically about 3/4 to 1 pound of lump crab in a can. Now before the purists come out of the depths and tell me that only fresh crab or GTF, I will say that while fresh crab is going to be sweeter and have a better texture, getting that meat out of the crab is very time consuming and generally more costly. So the friendly version for us home cooks is going to be these right here. Now if you're like me, you want to keep filler in your crab cakes to a minimum, but crab is pricey, so we're going to add some of this sweet bell pepper, and to help as a binder, we're going to go ahead and add some panko breadcrumbs. Now, of course, these crab cakes are going to need some sauce, and you could use some regular mayo, but you're making crab cakes from scratch, and god damn it, you're better than that, so throw that nonsense away because you're going to be making your own homemade mayo. And for that mayo, you will need what you see here, and that includes 2 garlic cloves, 1 egg, some basil, 1 to about 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard, and around 1/4 cup to about 1/2 cup of oil, or until you have the right consistency. Oh, and before I forget, you're also going to need these ingredients you see here to add to your crab cake. So some lemon there just to give it some acid. We're going to want about 1 or 2 cloves of garlic that we're going to crush, and then of course an egg for a binder. This will go in the bowl with the panko, and we're going to cook down our garlic with our bell peppers. All right, so there you go. We've covered all of our ingredients, so it is now time to get to the prep. But before that, as always, B-roll. Alright, with that tasty B-roll out of the way, it is time to prep our mayo. So go ahead and crack an egg into your measuring cup before crushing in 1 clove of garlic. Then you're going to go ahead and grab your lemon and just zest the outside of this. You don't need to do the full thing like I did, but I like a lot of lemon. You're then going to cut that lemon in half and squeeze in all of the juice. With that done, you're going to go ahead and grab your mustard and put in about 1 to 2 teaspoons. This will help emulsify the mixture, but also give it a nice flavor along with your basil, which you're going to rip up and throw in. Don't forget a pinch of salt before adding in oil as you whisk. Now, this emulsification process is going to take time, and you want to put the oil in slowly as you mix. But this is stupid and it's taking way too long, and I'm a little bit lazy, so let's go ahead and throw this off to the side and take advantage of technology. So go ahead and grab yourself a stick blender and then go ahead and blitz this up. As you can see, after about 30 seconds of mixing, we have a beautiful mayonnaise. Look how light it is. It's fresh and fragrant, and this will be perfect for your crab cakes. With that done, go ahead and move this to the side because it is time to open up our cans of crab meat. So with your trusty can opener, go ahead and do that, 1 or 2 or 3 times until you've got all of the crab lids opened, and then carefully lift those lids up so they're out of the way, and then push these off to the side and grab yourself a medium bowl. In that bowl, you're going to put a fine mesh strainer and then go ahead and dump all of your lump crab inside the strainer. Now, the idea here is to get as much liquid out as possible without touching it because you want to keep the lumps and the chunks as available as possible when we're making our patties. So once all of the crab is in that strainer, just go ahead and let this sit for a few minutes until all of the water has extracted. It's a perfect time to move this off to the side and prep the rest of our ingredients, so go ahead and grab your bell pepper. Now, as I mentioned, we do not want a lot of filler in our crab cake, so go ahead and cut 1 face off of this red bell pepper, and then you're going to dice this into fine little cubes. The idea here is this will not interfere with the texture of our crab cakes and specifically of the lump crab. You should have something that looks a little bit like this. Next, you'll want to grab yourself about a half of a shallot and go ahead and dice that thinly as well. Again, this is going to be nice flavoring, but we're going to make sure it does not interfere with the texture of our crab cake. So the finer, the better. And again, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Then transfer this into a small bowl and then crush in about 1 to 2 cloves of garlic. With that done, it's time to get our vegetable medley into a pan. So with your stove at about medium-high, go ahead and put in 2 tablespoons of oil. Now, for some reason, my camera decided to focus on the lip of my pan as opposed to what's in it, but in any case, add in your bell peppers, shallots, and garlic mixture to the pan, and then just go ahead and mix this fuzzy medley together before adding some salt and pepper. Now you want to let this cook down for about 5 or 6 minutes until it looks something a little bit like this. With that done, go ahead and grab yourself some basil and parsley and just roll this up into a tight ball and give this a fine chop, because this is going to go into our medium-sized bowl along with our vegetable medley. So dump that vegetable medley in and then add your parsley and basil mixture on top. You can give this a quick mix before adding in 1 full egg, which is going to help bind these crab cakes together. And speaking of binders, we're going to go ahead and take advantage of our homemade mayo and add about a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup to our mixture. Now, this is going to help both with binding, but also keep a nice consistent flavor profile. Once the mayo is thoroughly incorporated, go ahead and add about a 1/2 cup to a cup of panko. Now, you just want to fold this in gently, making sure to keep everything nice and light. Now, with everything mixed together, it is finally time to add our crab. So you're going to gently pour this over top, making sure to keep the crab as chunky as possible. So again, mixing technique is important. The goal here is to gently fold the crab into the mixture as we keep the lumpiness together. So do your best to keep that intact. Again, it's going to tear and break a little bit, but the lumpier that you keep it, the better the crab cake is going to be. So when it's all mixed together, you should have something that looks a little bit like this, a beautiful color and texture from the crab as well as all of our other ingredients. So now we just got to form our crab cakes, and to do that, you're going to want to grab yourself a cookie sheet with some plastic wrap on top, and then simply grab yourself a nice big handful of your crab cake, making sure not to squish or press too hard. And we're just going to form these into patties. So don't be afraid to make these thicker than you think. It's going to have a nice, wonderful, light texture, and that extra thickness is going to allow you to have a nice crust develop throughout the cooking process. So once you've formed about 3, 4, maybe 5 of these crab cakes, you should be ready to keep these off to the side, or ideally put them in the fridge or freezer for about 20 to 30 minutes. Letting them cool down in the fridge is going to help them seize up a little bit and keep their shape during the cooking process. In any case, if you're impatient like me, go ahead and add in about 2 tablespoons of oil as well as a small pat of butter. Once that butter is thoroughly melted, go ahead and grab your crab cakes and put them in. That is the sound we love to hear, but make sure you don't crowd the pan. 2 or 3 in a pan is fine. You want to definitely do this in small batches. So after about 6 or 7 minutes on medium heat, these should be golden brown and ready to be flipped. I mean, look at the color. These are amazing. Now, again, guys, these are pretty, delicate, so go ahead and flip them, but they may break a little bit during the cooking process, and that is totally okay. Then let these cook another 4 or 5 minutes, and you're basically good to go. And there you go, guys. That's really all this comes down to. They're delicious and easy, as you can see. We've got one last thing to do, and that is to plate up. And to do that, you're going to go ahead and grab this already made cheese board with some arugula and some lemons, and we're going to put our crab cakes there and make it look all pretty. Now, as you can see, guys, these are golden and delicious, and I cannot wait to dig in. You can also see I put a little extra salt on the outside just to give it some more flavor. So go ahead and stack your crab cakes onto your serving tray, and yeah, you should have something that looks like this. This is an amazing little dish for outside in the summer or springtime, and of course, it's going to be a fan favorite if you also happen to have your own custom mayo. Now, of course, before I serve my guests, I'm going to have to go ahead and put this on a proper plate for one, so grab your favorite dish or bowl, a little bit of that arugula salad, and of course, a nice smattering of our homemade lemon mayo. Then just grab yourself maybe 1 or maybe 2 crab cakes if you're feeling hungry, drizzle on a little more of our homemade mayonnaise, and then go ahead and throw on a little bit more of our basil. Oh, and don't forget some lemon wedges for color. And there you go. There is our final product, some delicious, crisp, light crab cakes that are going to be an absolute hit. And for once, a proper cross section here. Look at this, guys. Look how easily this breaks apart. You can still see the lumps, some beautiful color, and as little filler as I could put. Now to taste, you're gonna obviously put on some of that homemade mayo and give this a nice bite. And what can I say? This is why I love crab cakes. They're light, delicious, and sweet. They have a crisp exterior, and you can just see the wonderful color that we have. It's got a bright acidic note from the lemon and from our mayo. And yeah, I don't know. It's just something that's so wonderfully easy to make and is just such a crowd pleaser in my opinion. But guys, don't take my word for it. Go ahead and try these for yourself. You will not be disappointed. Now, where you might be disappointed, although not surprised, is going to be with the price. Now, as you can imagine, it doesn't really matter where you buy your crab. It is going to be pricey. You can buy it fresh or in a can, but ultimately crab is not something that is cheap. So this is going to set you back about $8 per plate. Now, overall, that's definitely a lot better than what you might get in a restaurant, but we have certainly made some cheaper meals on the channel. But where this won't cost you is going to be with your time, because this whole dish only took about 35 minutes to put together. That includes our little arugula salad with lemon and a bit of parm on there. And again, the crab cakes, guys, come together wonderfully quickly. And if you don't make a homemade mayo and the salad and try to make it look pretty, honestly, you could probably make this in about 25 or 20 minutes, depending how familiar you are with actually putting these things together. And don't worry, I'm not going to torture you by eating this all in front of you, but we have come to the end of the video because I got some guests to deal with. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching until the end. As always, thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. We will see you in the next one.